phenomenon of Fed kits. This is the way that federal overcrowding, or the federal law has hit Riverside County. See, because what happened was that Sacramento Solution, they sent all of their people, like you see on the bus, down to our little tiny county jail and said, you guys figure this out. The problem was, is Riverside already had its own overcrowding problems. It had been sued federally back in 1981, I believe it was, and then again, most recently by Loretta Lynch from the Obama administration. In both cases, they developed rules saying that they had a certain cap based upon their manning and their structure that they could not exceed. If they exceed that cap on prison housing, they have to release someone out the back door for everyone that comes in the front door. So we already had that problem, but Riverside County Jail Systems, RCJ, had managed to not have to release anyone prior to AB 109 for several years. They managed to keep their their levels at a low enough rate. This is what happened, however. If you look on the chart, the gold section here is what the housing was before AB 109. They were standing at about 83% of their population limits. When AB 109 hit, a new influx of bodies came in as represented by the silver area up above. As if you notice, it quickly spiked, and by January 2nd, 2014, 2 months after the implementation of AB 109, they hit crisis mode. They had to start releasing people. During that first year alone, they released 6,990 people onto the street for early release, and they peaked in 2014 at 10,895. This has continued along, and if you notice, there was a drop-off at Prop 47, but that was short-lived. It only lasted for about a year before it started picking up again. Now it's a daily thing of not, are we going to have to use this, but how many do we have to release out the back door today? 42,000 is the number since AB 109's been put in, that have been released early onto our streets in this county that have not served their sentences. And let me give you an example of one of them. Meet Brian Clausen. Brian is one of our local MS recipients that my team has to deal with. He's been arrested since 2006 on 11 different cases. He served state time, but most recently he's on mandatory supervision for a drug sales case. On January 10th of this year, my team went out to conduct an unannounced search on his property. He stuffed something in the chair. We opened it up and found a bag that contains some items, which we later found to be some drugs and some drug paraphernalia. But that didn't look like normal dope to us, and we were concerned, so we started checking further and looking into it. It turns out that was about 1.5 ounces of fentanyl. And for those of you that aren't familiar with fentanyl, it was actually originally designed and produced to be an elephant tranquilizer. This is supposedly 200 times more powerful than heroin. And just to give you guys an idea of how potent that is, this is a picture of a penny next to a fatal dose of fentanyl. He had 1.5 ounces of this stuff. Well, needless to say, he was arrested for sales because they're currently using it to mix with heroin. And we incarcerated him and started the lengthy process of trying to safely contain that dangerous substance. 12 days later, he pled guilty. He was sentenced to 5 years. He was ordered to do 1 year in custody and 4 years on mandatory supervision. That's the same probation that he was just on that we just arrested him for. Thanks to prison overcrowding, he was released the very next day, having been given credit for his full year of service. But unfortunately, the story doesn't end there, because later on that evening, he was arrested by the City of Industry for going into a business and trying to return $940, remember that number we just saw a little bit ago, $940 worth of stolen merchandise. Thanks to Prop 47, he was given a ticket and cited and released and walked out the door learning how to game the system even better. Now that I've talked about that, I do want to just briefly touch on our team, because these are the people that are tasked with going out and doing this. This is the Central PAC Task Force, and we were established in February of 2012, shortly after AB 109 took effect. Our primary mission is to conduct unannounced searches of the high-risk AB 109ers, hunt down and arrest the absconders, and coordinate multi-agency sweeps to go after probation violators. This is the first team of its type in the state, and the PAC team received an award in 2013 from the California District Attorneys Association for its efforts in making this cooperative multi-agency model and the innovation solutions to realignment. Many other counties have duplicated the model. There are currently 3 task force teams in the county. There's a West PAC, East PAC, and of course ours is the Central PAC. It's housed, as Chief said, in the city of Hemet at off-site Hemet Police Department facility, which I am the supervisor on, and it's a total of 7 staff positions. So we have 5 law enforcement officers, all from incorporated cities, along with a senior DA investigator and a probation officer assigned to the team. Together, we conduct over 120 compliance searches each and every month, and we arrest those that we find in violation. In 2017, we had 1,529 searches, over half of which was people that are on AB 109. We had 309 arrests, with over half being the recidivists from the problem children. We also discovered 170 bad addresses that these probationers were using when they got released that they weren't in fact living at. We seized 56 firearms, 132 other weapons, 23 stolen vehicles, roughly a pound of methamphetamine, over half a pound of heroin, and over 40 pounds of marijuana. The battle's still not over though. Currently in Riverside County, we have over 2,000 AB 109 probationers between the 3 PAC teams that we're responsible for, and there's 177 in Hemet alone, with another 12 scheduled to be released before June. There's over 700 absconders with active PRCS warrants within Riverside County that aren't being rehabilitated despite what Sacramento wants us to hear. And 51 of those, their last address was in the city of Hemet. We still look for them. We find them once in a while, but we know some of them have actually left the state. We're working to mitigate the problems, but it's a long road given what we've got. And with that, I'm more than happy to take any questions you have.
Thank you, sir. I think that was a very in-depth presentation, and it provides a lot of insight to a lot of people that don't have a lot of information about what the realities of what some of these ballot propositions that have been passed under a false narrative, basically, if you will, under the title, especially with Proposition 47. So, any questions? Linda?
The 3 different PAC teams, how did they get set up? Was it on population basis? I mean, definitely not area, because the one is 3 times as big as the other, and then the one in the Northwest is very small.
Historically, there were only 2. Originally, there were only 2 during the initial development of this. There was an East PAC and a West PAC. We were actually East PAC at the time. We ran all the way out into the desert area. And that was actually split apart because of geography. It just wasn't feasible for us to make those long runs. West PAC, the reason that they developed separately was because Corona, Riverside, and Moreno Valley got together and wanted to do something in their areas because of the population density. So they formed West PAC together, and then we later split East PAC into what is now East PAC and what is now Central PAC, and we've added some bodies in the meantime.
So we're basically the pass area and down through Hemet, San Jacinto, Murrieta, Temecula, Menifee? Yes,
we run from, on the east side, Whitewater, all the way to the county limits on the I-10 corridor. We run the I-215 corridor, and the south side of the I-15 corridor.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
I'll say this, I think it's very fortunate that we have these teams in place.
Absolutely.
And the success that is limited as it can be because of the propositions. We're certainly grateful that they're here serving us and the region.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Up next, council reports. Councilmember Brown.
Watermaster Board meets the end of next month in May, and I have nothing new to report on the other items.
I will go equally as quickly. The only thing, Ramona Bowl Ramona season is getting very close. The 19th at 9 a.m. is the fourth graders show, Up the Bowl. Your time to go up and experience 5,000 fourth graders in one group. And first nighter is the 21st, Saturday the 21st. It starts at 6 o'clock at the Stock Farm. It is a barbecue. If you want to go, I think it's either $10 or $15. Call the Ramona Bowl, and you can get a ticket to the barbecue and also experience the Stock Farm. That's all I have.
Councilmember Wright.
Let's see here. Okay, Western Riverside Council of Governments, they gave a presentation on Rivco Connect, which was regarding a multi-jurisdictional effort to bring gigabyte fiber to every household. They also supported the position on AB 3027, which is the CEQA bill that would significantly limit the ability of a third-party group, groups not impacted by the project in question, to file a lawsuit under CEQA in an effort to gain compensation for the attorney's fees. Let's see what else we have here. I attended the San Jacinto 130th anniversary party, and that was well attended and very nicely done. Attended the Ramona Festival on Saturday. I think it wasn't as attended as well this year because there were a ton of things going on between the baseball opening day, certainly the air show in Riverside, and a number of other things that were going on at the same time. So I wish we could all get our calendars together so that this doesn't happen, but invariably it will. The Homeless Task Force, God, I can't remember. That's not until next week, the next meeting. Escape Plaza Task Force. We're in the process of scheduling a meeting with the developer for who's doing the feasibility on the skate park. And as soon as that meeting time is determined, we will invite several people to that meeting and start some community engagement and hopefully get this feasibility study on the road. So we look forward to that happening. That's it.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, we have a Coffee with Carlia's this Saturday at 9 a.m. at Little Angie's Diner, those of you who would like to attend. And our Homeless Outreach Team volunteer group has begun meeting with businesses and posting our signs for Nowhere It Goes campaign and for the Say No to Panhandling. We've gotten through many businesses. We have a progress and training meeting this Thursday night at 6 p.m. So if anybody's interested, just send me a message and I will give you the address. And that is all. Thank you.
Okay, I have Planning Commission meeting last Tuesday was canceled. RCA, there was no reportable action items, but the species of the month was an eagle that looked like it could be it was a hawk that could have looked like, it looks kind of like an eagle, but this bird was beautiful, and one of the pictures that they showed was just an absolutely stunning photo, and the photographer got a mid-flight and wings spread out, and it was beautiful. Other than that, there was nothing, no reportable action. We did have, one of the things I wanted to point out, we had a meeting with some business owners yesterday and talked about homelessness, and one of the things that I thought was kind of ironic is that some of these business owners, they own their businesses in the city limits, but some of them, and many of them, live in the county areas in Val Vista and that. And one of the things that was pointed out by them is that since our police department has increased enforcement, they are starting to see more of what we used to have in the city now moved out to Val Vista. And so a lot of the blight is being cleaned up in our city and moved out to the county areas. And so that's one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting, that they made light of. Saturday, I was at Valleywide's opening day baseball. It was a great turnout. The weather was beautiful. There was, if you looked at the weather reports early in the week, there was a 60% chance of rain. Come Friday, there was no rain, and Saturday it was beautiful in the morning, and then there's some clouds in the afternoon. But it was absolutely gorgeous out there. There was well over 1,000 people out there and a bunch of kids getting ready to play baseball. So they're Valleywide's kicking off their baseball season. City of San Jacinto was out there. Saboba was out there, and the special guest was a former Dodger World Series player. So first name was Daryl. So, and he gave a great speech. I'm not a Dodger fan. Yeah. I'm not a Dodger fan, so. Yeah. But, and that's all I have. Ad hoc committee, investment policy.
Yeah, we're waiting on, I think our investment policy is waiting on some reports, so.
Master annexation, there was no meeting, but there were some comments made at a meeting yesterday that might be, we can definitely further look into. Florida Avenue.
I got an email back from John Malinsky today,
Okay.
and he's working on, our approving what we have suggested or whatever you want to say, and he will be getting back to us within the week so that we can schedule a follow-up with that.
Can I ask a question on that? Is there any progress on the safety plan that we were supposed to be able to put in place that we had 6 months to a year to do?
That's what we met when we went to San Bernardino. We talked about that, and I think that's some of the stuff that email is pertaining to. Because there was a lot of recommendations that were made.
Some other items besides a piece of cement down the middle of Flora.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we are working on that plan.
I've already given it to him. It wasn't a document, we just gave them a list, and so that's what they're going to come back and tell us what they approved and what they did not like of it.
Well, that's the approval on issues is one thing, but I thought the direction was that we provide them with a safety plan of our own to counteract having to have medians. I thought that was the direction.
Right, and that's what engineering put together.
Okay.
Engineering has completed an intersection by intersection analysis and going back and taking X number of years. Along with that, they've recommended what kind of improvements work, as well as a median strip for most of the street there. And so that has all been given the Caltrans. I haven't seen any written comments back, and then our mayor and vice mayor went intersection by business, etc., discussing what our engineer was recommending and such, and negotiating with Caltrans on the street there. I don't know if you have. I haven't received any comment. The indication from Caltrans was that they were still going to go forward with the median strip.
Well, that's where my confusion is, because the direction was that we give them our own safety plan to eliminate having to have the median.
Right.
And not necessarily negotiating block by block what we'd accept or what's there and what we would accept. I thought the direction was that we had 6 months to a year to develop our own plan so that it would justify or at least them accepting the fact that what we were doing was satisfactory and not having to have the median put in place.
Well, that's what they haven't reached.
That's part of that conversation, that block by block, we were pointing out the data that we had and that they had, that the median was not the solution to the types of collisions that were occurring.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
And maybe we can get, Sarah, maybe we can have the council, all the council members can have that report from Sudi. I don't know if you can make sure.
That would be appreciated, yeah. Yeah, because I think we all need to know. So it's important for us to see that, and hopefully, after all is said and done, they'll see that the plan
Yeah.
is sufficient enough for them to agree to not have to do their project. Thank you.
City manager report.
Our council meeting, May 22nd, has to be rescheduled because the majority of the council will be attending the International Shopping Center conference.
Rescheduled or canceled?
Council members, that's the end of May, which is budget. So will you be starting your budget work studies then? You do have the option of moving it till Tuesday the 29th, because that is a 5-Tuesday month, which would just be 1 week later. You also have the option of bumping the planning commission and having it 1 week sooner, but that would be like 2 right in a row.
The 29th would be the 5th Tuesday of the month.
Yes.
Day after Memorial. It's the first day back to work.
Not that I go anywhere. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay, 29th.
Everybody's good with that?
They said they're not going anywhere, so I guess I'm okay.
Okay, 29th. May 29th? May 29th. My granddaughter lives in North Carolina, just turned 16 years old today, and she's having a party Friday night, and my wife and I will be in attendance there. So I will be out of the office next week, all next week. But I will be here for the next council meeting, so. Oh, I'm sorry, and our Rob, our police chief, is the acting manager while I'm gone. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all you got?
That's all I have.
All right. Future agenda items.
I have one. Maybe we could, and Deanna's gone, but like tonight we talked about Habitat for Humanity and giving them a break on this. So I recently visited my city youth, and they put up a shade structure over their playground, and the cost for the permitting or checking of this is more expensive than the structure itself. And it's a nonprofit organization that is trying to keep kids off our streets. So maybe we should have staff look into like a schedule of fees for nonprofit organizations altogether, so that we're not showing favoritism. It's just a good. There's not a lot of building, but that's shameful to. Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? Nobody else?
I think we need to take care of this, some of the things that are on there already.
Which one?
Yeah, some are just trying to chip away at the ones we already got.
Oh, okay.
Been working on some of those. All right. Okay, with that, we will recess into closed session.